Good day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today Tichina Arnold from Martin, actually asked a question on Twitter that really got my attention. I shout out Tichina Arnold. I think Tichina, I've followed her on Twitter for a while. She's a very smart Black woman. She asked a question that really caused a lot of conversation and set some Black women off. Got some people real mad. So get comfortable, buckle up a seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I believe in the B1 philosophy. I'm here for the Black community. I'm here because I think that our community deserves to have smart conversations where we talk about the issues that matter for us and we put ourselves at the top of the priority list. It's called the B1 culture. If you agree that we need to educate our kids at the highest level possible, put a hashtag B1 in the chat. If you agree that Black wealth is also Black power, put a hashtag B1 in the chat. If you believe that loving the Black woman should be a top priority, put a hashtag B1 in the chat. If you believe that supporting the Black man is important for our community, put a hashtag B1 in the chat. I want to say hello to Shayna and Jamie and Felicia and Kevin and Miss Danya and Kevin B. Shaw and Keith and Justin. Shout out the city you're from. Let me know what city you guys are from. I love to see what city you all are coming from. And so let me just let you all know what drove me to do this podcast. I don't have a schedule. I don't know when I'm going to go live. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I just look at the world and I see what the world tells me to think about. And I saw a tweet from a sister that I followed her for a while. She follows me back, and I have a lot of respect for her. I've never met her, but I like what she does. Her name is Tichina Arnold. She's very talented. She's been in a lot of different theatrical productions, but most of y'all know her from Martin, right? She played Pam in Martin. And Tichina, I'll put a picture on the screen so y'all can see it. And Tichina made some interesting comments about Black men and Black women that I really thought were worth a conversation. And in fact, I'm going to actually follow up with my wife. My wife is a therapist, a couples therapist, and a professor like me. And we do Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia at boyceandalicia.com. And I want to follow up with her because I want to hear the gender side, or both genders, in terms of what people think about this issue. And so as I move forward, I want to say hello to George out of Atlanta, and I see VMAC out of Long Beach. I think about Snoop Dogg when I see Long Beach. Ebony out of New York. I can't wait to go to New York. We're going to actually do an event in Brooklyn pretty soon. Last time we went to Brooklyn, y'all sold the place out, so I can't wait to see you again. Burlington, North Carolina for Brian. Nicole Thomas out of Los Angeles. I saw Lubbock, Texas. I see Orlando for R.S. Spence. Who else should I see? I'm going to name a couple more just to give you a shout out. Memphis, and I see Chicago. And my wife and I are doing an event in Chicago May 15th. So make sure you get on our email list. Go to boycewatkins.com and I'll let you guys know when we do our event. It's going to be May 15th. But anyway, so here's the deal. Here's what Tichina asked on her page. And I'll put Tichina's picture on the screen. I assume everybody knows who Tichina Arnold is. I mean, she's just like a Mount Rushmore amongst Black people. And there she is right there. I think that's an older picture from Martin, but y'all know Black don't crack. So she looks about the same, still gorgeous, still looks as young as ever. And Tichina is active on Twitter. And she came to my attention because Vicky Dillard noted that Tichina is extremely supportive of the B1 culture. In fact, I want to invite Tichina to the All Black National Convention because I like what she's doing. And she asked a great question. I'm going to ask you all this question. I want you to kind of think about it. It says, honest question. What can we as Black women in America do to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America? What can we as Black women? So she's doing something that a lot of people don't do, to be honest with you. She's asking Black women, okay, what can we do, right? Rather than because some people think you're doing something when you're just complaining about somebody else. Some of y'all do that with white folks too. Y'all think that complaining about white people is the same as doing something for black people. And we actually think that complaining and whining is a strategy. Whining is not a strategy. Being a victim all the time is not a strategy, right? So ultimately, I kind of like that. I like that idea. And I would say the same thing to men. I think that this question is legitimate. It is valid. It's basically saying, what can you do? When we went to World War II, they said, what can you do to serve your country? Well, I want to ask black people, what are you doing to serve your community? Because you can't be pro-black if you're anti-black woman. You can't be so a lot of these guys in the manosphere that talk shit about black women all day. You're not pro-black. I don't know what you are. Maybe you're pro-gay or something. I have no idea. But you're not. Well, maybe not to say that being gay means you can't be pro-black. But I don't know what the hell y'all are. But this whole like bashing black women stuff is kind of weird. It's kind of weird. You need to go talk to your therapist about that, because it means you really kind of hate your mama, right? And then the women that hate black men, you're caught up in a gender war. They taught you to hate black men. They taught you to believe that just like the rest of America, that the face of every predator you've ever had in your life, every person who's done anything to ruin your life, is a black man. That a black man is the reason that you're unhappy. A black man is the reason that you're broke. A black man is the reason why you don't have a daddy in the house. A black man is the reason why you're lonely. A black man is the reason why you can't get no good sex, right? And so blame it on the black man. I might as well everybody else does it. Whenever white folks commit a crime and they don't want to take responsibility, they always blame it on the black guy. They say a black guy did it. Well, why do they do that? Well, because it's easy to believe. Everybody blames the black man for everything. And I can tell you, as a black man who has tried his best his whole life to do right by the people in my circle, to protect the people that I love, to be a good son, a good husband, a good father, a good student, a good human being, it pisses me off that I always fit the damn description, even when I ain't even do nothing. Y'all done read some raggedy Negro out here that done did something stupid to you, and somehow you're looking at me as if he and I are the same. Well, that's the first thing you got to understand, is you got to give the black man back his humanity. Stop acting like we're all the same. We are not the same. If you think black men are garbage, then that means you are hanging around black men who are garbage. You are hanging with the garbage men. I'll stand with you against the garbage men, because I've seen them out there too. But don't go hang around with 10, 20 garbage men in a row and then look at a good man and say, well, he's just like the rest of them. No, we're not. And don't look at a good man and say, well, oh, he must be a simp because he nice to me. He opened the door for me. Okay, he bought me flowers. No, he's not a simp. That's what a real man looks like. You just never knew that because you've been hanging around little boys and wannabe thugs and men who ain't never been given a template on what manhood is supposed to look like. So let's start the conversation right there. So now, Tichina, I'm going to pull up her comment. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up if you haven't done it yet. And I'm going to read her question, then I'm going to read some of the responses. And I'm going to give you just a direct Dr. Boyce response to the responses, kind of a reaction video, if you will. And first off, I want to ask you all a question, yes or no? So let me read the question. I'm going to ask you guys a yes or no question. Honest question. What can we as Black women in America do to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America? Now, this question comes with a couple of assumptions I want to ask you about. Number one, yes or no? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no. Do you think that America is a society that pushes the emasculation of the Black male? Do you think that there is an agenda to emasculate Black men in general? Do you think that there's an agenda whether it comes down to sexuality or whether it comes down to just being a grown-up, right? Or to maybe stereotypes that are pursued and pushed forward in media? Do you feel like there is an effort by America to emasculate the Black male? Okay, I see some yeses, John and Paul and Tarika. Okay, I see a lot of yeses. And so I think we're on the same page. This is what I see all the time. Malcolm X used to talk about this. Malcolm X said that America has always wanted to keep the Black man as a little boy or as a little girl or as a clown, one of those three things. That's why Black men who either engage in extremely immature behavior, like hip hop artists with 18 babies, mamas, and getting high all day and drunk all day, that's why they'll be more famous than any smart Black man. They're gonna put the college professors in the back. They put the ignorant motherfuckers up in the front. That's what they do. And they say, see, look at these people. Look at them. Look at how they behave. Look at this must be what a man is. So some of the women misidentify manhood. They think that because these buffoons have all the money and all the power, that's the man that you want to be with. And they, let me explain to you, they did that to the Native Americans also. When they wanted to control the Native Americans, and they didn't want Native Americans connected to their culture, they didn't want Native Americans taking pride in their historic traditions, they didn't want Native Americans imitating their uncles and fathers and grandfathers. So you know what they would do? They would kidnap the children and take them away to a public school, basically. They would take them away to a special school, and they would tell them, you cannot speak your language, you cannot wear ceremonial dress, you cannot follow any of your Native traditions. We're going to teach you how to behave the way we think you're supposed to behave. So they would create these little clowns, these little clown cones of Native Americans, little artificial fake imitations of what a Native American looks like. They dress him up like a white man. They would prop him right in the middle of the village and give him a whole lot of money so that all the little kids would look up to him and say, ooh, I want to be like him one day. I don't want to be like my uncle who's carrying all the traditions of the family because he ain't got no money. This dude, now he's lit. I want to be like the guy who's lit. I want to be like the guy who's got all the money. So they would start imitating these people. That's how brainwashing works. Well, they do the same thing with black people. The black men that they put on TV, the biggest clowns, the idiots who can't even spell their mama's name, the guys who are engaged in extensive amounts of self-destructive behavior. I've gone through the list before on this podcast. I'm not going to repeat that today. If you ever want to hear a recipe for how a black man can die by the age of 35, go listen to some of this music. Go listen to something. Go figure out. I need y'all to go out here and watch what happens when you're 17 years old and you're getting high and drunk every day, popping Molly's and Percocets every day like Future's telling you to do in every other song. I want you to see what happens to your life when you're out here impregnating every woman within a 100-mile radius, what kind of destruction you're causing in families all across this country. I want you to see what happens when you run around toting a gun, talking about you're trying to get gangster with everybody. Like, I'll shoot anybody. I don't care. Right? I want you to see what happens. How many hundreds of thousands of years they give your dumb ass in prison when they've taught you to basically do every single thing you could possibly do to ruin your life and ruin your family at the same time. And then what's unfortunate is that these poor guys, they don't figure it out until they've been sitting in prison for about 9 to 10 years. They're about 29 years old because they got locked up at 19. And then he sits with somebody from the Nation of Islam or some enlightened brother, some former gangbanger who's finally come to his senses, who explains to him how the game works. And then all he's got is another 30, 40 years to regret his decisions. That's what they're doing to your young men. That's what's killing your community. And you got to stop it because the record labels are putting $1 billion or more per year behind the mass psychological, spiritual, and physical genocide of black people. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So that is part of what is happening to your black men in this country. That is why some of our men are very, very lost. We know that it's out there. I told you, the little boy, the little girl, or the clown, the types of men that tend to do well in American society that white people tend to embrace are either men who behave like children. I'm talking about like thugged out rappers who just say anything and do anything and act like a damn fool, high on drugs, whatever, and brag about it. Or the comedian, a Negro telling jokes will always have a space amongst white folks. This has been true since slavery. If you make them laugh, that makes them comfortable. That's when they start to love you, right? So you got the entertainers, and then you got the athletes who show their athletic prowess. As long as you shut up and dribble, now if you're intelligent like LeBron, then that's when they start getting mad at you. But when you just shut up and dribble, and that's all you are, then they can sit back and admire you the same way they admire a prize racehorse. So effectively, I like her question because you see kind of a dual sort of set of factors happening here, right? On one hand, you see a type of masculinity that comes with maybe hip hop, right? Hip hop, I'm gangster, I'm a thug. I got tattoos all over my body, tattoos on my face because I done killed so many black people and chains hanging down, my chains hanging low, right? Like that's the type of masculinity, that's an exaggerated, almost cartoonish type of masculinity. Most rappers succeed by making themselves into cartoon characters, right? That's not what a human being does. That's not what a man looks like, but we fall for the cartoon character, right? And then also you got the masculinity that might come from, say, sports, right? Athletes and stuff like that. But there are other forms of masculinity that are either neglected or suppressed amongst black men. There is the masculinity that comes with intelligence, with a man who's able to think strategically, the Malcolm X-ish masculinity, the Muhammad Ali style of masculinity. You have the masculinity that comes with loving and protecting a black woman and saying, I have a family. This is my unit. I take care of my unit. That's a type of masculinity that isn't really celebrated or discussed in public. There are many, many other forms of masculinity that are more beneficial to the community that are either suppressed, ignored, or never trained in many young black men. That gets back to Tichina Arnold's question. So I'm gonna move back to her question. I'm gonna repeat the question, and then we're gonna dissect this a little bit, because y'all know that I told y'all on this platform, this is for intelligent Black people. So you either gotta be intelligent or you gotta want to be more intelligent. This is not for ignorant people. I'm not here to teach you how to be dumber. I want you to be smarter, and that's just what it is. And if people don't like it, then they can get the hell out. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up if you haven't done it yet. Also, just a reminder, if you live near Detroit, my wife is actually speaking with a lot of great people, Professor James Small and some others in Detroit at the One Africa Conference hosted by Taki Grant. If you go to BoyceWatkins.com, you can actually get passes there. I'm really proud of Taki. The movie Hoppy is extremely good. Everybody should watch it. And if you go to BoyceWatkins.com, the conference is April 30th, and you can feel free to go take a look there. All right, so here's the question. I'm going to read the question again, and let's talk about masculinity and the emasculation issue. She says, honest question. What can we as Black women in America do to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America? So first off, she's asking Black women. She's not asking us as men. She's asking women. And then she's being a leader. She's leading a conversation. And I love that. I love the idea of us leading intelligent conversations. And then she says to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America. So we agree that there is an effort to emasculate the Black male. This is not a matter of finger pointing. This is a matter of saying that there is an issue here. And so when you talk about this question, I think that the reason this question set a lot of people off is that there were a lot of women who were deeply offended. They were deeply offended by this idea that you would ask women to take any responsibility for the plight or the experience or the outcomes of Black men. Now, I want to ask y'all a question. Do you think, yes or no, do you think that Black women play some role in how Black men turn out? Do you think some Black women play a role in the choices Black men make? Do you think Black women have any power in terms of defining the outcomes of Black males in American society? Give me a yes or no answer, and I'm going to read one of the responses, then I'm going to respond to the response. So Antisocial Butterfly, which is a very interesting name, she says, I'm truly concerned about this question because it's basically saying that we're responsible for Black men and their feelings, which is giving them more of a reason to put that responsibility on us. And I ain't responsible for anybody but myself and my children. That is an interesting comment. I don't know this lady. I don't know how, I don't know what her mindset is. I'm not going to beat up on her, but it's a very disturbing comment. And the reason I mentioned the comment is because a lot of people hit the heart button on this comment, which means that there are people that agree with Antisocial Butterfly. Now, the reason that this comment is a problem is because, let me ask y'all this. In America, so let's live under some assumption that the Black woman has no say on the outcome of Black men. That any of now let's separate men. You got the quality men over here. These are the types of men, ladies, by the way, you'll see at the All Black National Convention. These are the men that I invite. And then you got the raggedy men over here, the guys that were going to get you pregnant and run as soon as you get a positive pregnancy test, the men who ain't trying to get up and do nothing for themselves, men ain't trying to read a book unless you put a gun to his head, right? So you got the raggedy here and you got the quality over here. All right, so let me ask you all this. In America right now, who is more likely to be the dominant parent in the life of a young Black male? Who is most likely to be the parent that ends up raising that little boy into adulthood? Is it the man? Are most of the children raised in a home where there's one man running the house? Or are most children raised in a home where the mom is running the house? Right? It's going to be the mother. 76% of all Black children, unfortunately, grow up in a household where there is a mother, but there is no father. Now, this does not blame the mothers. I've seen a lot of men in the manosphere. I hope y'all stop doing this shit where you're blaming women for being single moms. Now, mind you, we know that there's a lot of work to do. We know that there are some mothers who literally run off any man that they possibly can. But at the same time, we know that there are men who run away from any sign of responsibility. So I think that it's very strange when you have a child that was created by two people, right? Two people were fucking that night, right? But for some reason, only one person's raising the child. So the person who is actually with the child every day doing the work, whether she created the situation or not, the person who's doing the work is the one who gets the blame for the fact that they're stuck doing all the work. That's extremely, extremely weird, right? And I've heard men say, like when I married my wife was technically a single mom, and they were like, why would you marry a single mom? And I was like, what's wrong with single moms? But your mama was a single mom. Like, why would, that's what's hilarious is that a lot of guys who say you should never, ever date or marry a single mom were raised by a single mom. So that right there tells me this is the conversation needs to happen between you and your therapist, in which you bring your mama to the therapy session, because apparently y'all got some issues y'all haven't worked out. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I understand if somebody says, look, kids are hard work. I don't really want to do that. I get that, right? Kids are hard work, by the way. It's very rewarding. I just happen to love being a dad. I love kids. I used to be a track coach, and I love talking to the kids, and I would be like, like Uncle Boyce, and I would run with the kids. I love hanging around kids because I have a heart for children that are neglected. Because my daddy abandoned me when I was a kid. I had a father step in, but I know what that feels like to not have everything you need. So I always felt connected to children that, just needed a little bit of support, a little bit of encouragement, so that was always something I enjoyed doing. I still love to do that, right? But I get it. If you say, raising kids is hard work, I don't know if I want to do all that. Okay, cool. Nobody's faulting you for that. But when you run around and you're consciously going out of your way, like some of these guys have whole podcasts all about how much they hate single mothers. That's really a mental illness on full display. That's what that is. That's what that is. Let me tell you about the internet. I've been in these internet streets for over a decade. My videos have gotten over 250 million views. I kid you not. You can add it up, about 300 million or something, right? So I've been watching people come and go. I've seen people go from nothing to rise up. I've seen people with different angles, and I analyze them. And also my wife is a therapist. And I'm telling you, you got a lot of crazy motherfuckers on the internet. Really, you have a lot of people on the internet that really they're entertaining because crazy is interesting, right? Who knows? I might even be one of them sometimes. I'm a little crazy, right? The stuff I'm obsessed about. But you have some really ridiculously insane people. And what's really fascinating to me is that there's something about it where their momentum is validating other people's craziness. So if you're this guy who just hates Black women because you hate your mama, or because your baby mama, your baby mama didn't treat you right, or whatever, and you're looking for a space in the manosphere where you can sit around and bitch and complain about how all your problems are caused by Black women, you will find a podcast and another million listeners to join you in your pity party. You will find that. Accountability is not cool. Responsibility is not popular. Analytical thinking and balance is not the preferred methodology. Why do that when you can just go loose and go ham and blame all your problems on somebody else? So you've got the manosphere over here, and you got the womanosphere over here. And those groups of people, they only come together when it's time to fight and when it's time to fuck. And then that's it. They fucking and fighting, and that's it. And then they go, and then when the baby's born, they go their separate ways, because at the end of the day, they don't understand that if you are fighting with the opposite gender on any situation on an unconditional basis, then your community cannot survive. You cannot reproduce. Your children are absolutely royally fucked, because you don't have the foresight and insight or self-reflective capability to realize that your crazy ass needs to sit down and talk to a therapist or get some skills so you can learn how to communicate with another Black person without trying to slap somebody upside the head. That's really what it is. That's literally what it is. So with Tichina, what I like about Tichina's question is I love the idea that she's building this bridge. She's building this bridge between Black men and Black women and saying, hey, our brothers are going through it in certain ways. Society's kind of coming down on them. What can we as Black women do to pitch in? And there are women who are like, ain't got nothing to do with me. Mind you, this lady who says that the plight of the Black male is not her responsibility. She's probably raising a Black son. Remember, when you talk about the raggedy men that are out here, many of them were raised by their mothers. So anybody who thinks that the Black woman's choices have nothing to do with the outcomes of the Black male clearly has never taken a biology class. Maybe you went to one of those schools where they teach you that there's 187 genders, or that a boy can be a girl, or whatever it is that you think. Whatever you grew up with, you didn't take biology class because you don't understand that we need each other, whether we like it or not. A man can't survive. His seed cannot survive without his seed being processed through the body of a Black woman. So in that regard, you can make the argument that she's kind of like your goddess, because she has the ability to give life and you don't. Now you got ability. There's a God in you. There's a power of masculinity. I'm gonna talk in a minute. In a minute, I'm gonna go down a list of masculine versus feminine traits. Somebody shared an interesting post. So I'm gonna share that in a minute too. But so you got your power too, right? As a man, you got your power. There's a tremendous amount of manifestation power in masculinity. I believe a man who is determined and focused and committed and disciplined has the power and ability to manifest in ways that almost anybody else cannot. I think that a man in your space adds power in a certain way that women can't reproduce. You cannot be no man. You do not get a card on Father's Day because you don't have a penis, you don't have balls, you're not a man. There's something that we have inside of us that you can't replicate. So stop acting like you can just copy us and replicate us, because you can't. You have just as much ability to be the father as I have of being the mother. There are things that my kid's mother brings to the table that I can't replicate. And she does it every day. Every day, my wife gets with my daughters and she does things with them and works on things with them and talks to them in a way that only she can bring with that goddess-like power she has as a feminine being. So I really wish, at the very least, those of us who are mature and responsible, who actually are pro-Black, because if you're anti-family, you're not pro-Black. Just go become a Klansman or something, because you can't say you're pro-Black, because you're literally creating the kind of energy that will lead to the destruction of the Black race. So again, if you have that sort of energy, you're being genocidal, because you're literally pushing away Black women or pushing away Black men, which you need to reproduce healthy children so that your species, so your group can survive. And you're not doing that because you're sitting in the manosphere hating on every Black woman that moves, or sitting over here with these mean ass Black female feminists, right, who done took in all these weird toxic energy from white women, and you hate your men. So no, you're not gonna reproduce. Maybe you're gonna die old and alone as a man or a woman, and because nobody's going to want to be around you because you haven't dealt with your shit. You think you're the shit, but really you are shit because you've never confronted your shit. So at the end of the day, I'm talking to the people that really want to do the hard work that is required to grow and to evolve and to stop and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I can learn. As a woman, I can listen and learn from a man. As a man, I can listen and learn from a woman. People don't do that. Everybody thinks they know the answers, and it's absolutely ridiculous to me. I have a PhD and I don't know all the answers. So if I don't know all the answers, then how the hell you know all the answers and you telling me what all the answers are? And I'm sitting here telling you I don't know the answers. And I went to school till I was 31. Did you go to school till you were 31? So anyway, let me keep going. Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up. All right, so let me read more of Tichina Arnold's comment, and I'm going to break some of this down. All right, so here's another point. Let's see, somebody else said, it's crazy how Black men are responsible for protecting y'all, but y'all have no obligation toward Black men. One-sided social contracts never work. Are y'all interested in renegotiation? Because if y'all don't owe us, it goes both ways. I don't want that. Do you? Okay, so that comment, I do agree with that comment, because that comment's basically saying that everything needs to be a two-way street. And this idea that you want something and you're not bringing anything to the table, spiritually, psychologically, or otherwise, then that makes that person bad for a relationship. And so I think that that's more of a personal thing, right? When you're talking about picking and choosing, right? You can't generalize an entire group of people. It's almost impossible to do. So you talk about picking and choosing. I would encourage you to pick and choose people who are going to understand the nature of reciprocity, the nature of give and take, not the nature of take and take. And I'm not going to drill too much into that, but that's what I'm seeing there. Now, Erica Lachey, who I like Erica Lachey, she's really smart. She says, first of all, kudos to you for having the heart to even ask this. I believe combating any media, music, or conversations that try to reframe what our men are without their consent is vital, and refusing to support any behavior that encourages emasculation. I agree with that 100%. Y'all don't understand, these record labels are not your friends. They are promoting images of Black men that are getting you shot in the street, not just by police, but also by other Black men. And ultimately, they're promoting images that are not pro-family, that are not beneficial to Black people. Now, let me read something. Somebody, her name was Jael, Jael. I don't know her last name, but she sent this list of masculine and feminine traits. And I want to share this with you all so that you can maybe, in terms of getting in touch and understanding your masculine and feminine side, this might be something that helps you. I like this list. I thought it was actually kind of good. I shared it with Alicia, and she didn't seem to have a problem with it. So I'm going to read some masculine versus feminine traits to you. and it's on the screen. So she says feminine, and now this is not absolute, but this is interesting. This is a kind of a benchmark framework to start with. Okay, so I'll mention the feminine and the masculine. I see feminine, or excuse me, I see dependent, independent, emotional, non-emotional, collaborative, competitive, vulnerable, strong, nurturing, dominant, self-critical, self-confident, accepting, rebellious, empathetic, logical, creative, analytical, caring, ambitious, nurturing, brave, generous, assertive, free-spirited, innovative, encouraging, straightforward, humble, arrogant, passive, aggressive. Okay, now I don't like all the masculine traits entirely. I think that I think that dominant can have a connotation that's not beneficial to people in the group. I think that if you always need to dominate and you have no ability to be collaborative on any level, I think that implies a type of insecurity and emotional imbalance. I don't think you have to dominate everything. I think confidence, obviously, that's something that you can create, but I see a lot of women that also have self-confidence and rebellion. Logical, I'm not going to say men are logical and women are not. Wait, that would be wrong. But I think both logic and empathy are actually things that everybody can apply. And what I would say is, like, when I'm looking at this, and now the word arrogant, I don't like arrogant at all. Humble versus arrogant. Humble. I prefer humble over arrogant. I think humility is what comes with confidence, right? So looking at the list, and aggressive, I think aggression has a place in a certain context, right? Every situation doesn't call for aggression, but I think that maybe seeing that list could be like a benchmark to kind of understand the different types of traits that you want to have as a man or as a woman to get in touch with both of your sides, right? Like, for example, creative, that's not just a woman thing. Men can be creative too. And what I have found is that having women around, by pulling that other side of you out or requiring you to grow into something that you might not naturally be, that really does make you a more well-rounded person. It gives you a broader set of tools that you can use to overcome and confront different situations. So when my brother and I'll give you an example. When my brother and I lived together years ago, it was just, like a frat house. We would eat a pizza, leave the pizza box on the couch, and then a week later, that pizza box might still be on the couch, right? That's just what we did, because as men, that's kind of how we operated, right? And then I started dating somebody at the time, and she came over and immediately started cleaning everything up and became disgusted with the way things looked around their house, right? So now as a husband, I can't do that, right? I can't live that way anymore, right? But I have my man cave where I'm allowed to kind of do what a guy does, right? And what I think is really missing for sure in terms of why people don't take that responsibility is, I think you really got to consider, and this is related to wealth, by the way, in case you wonder why I talk about relationship stuff, it's because it's directly related to wealth. Again, if you can't build families and build communities and live in a collaborative, cooperative fashion, you can never build wealth. If you're always competing against the person right next to you and you're choosing to fight people as opposed to working together, then you'll never really accomplish anything. Wealth is a team sport. Powernomics taught you that. We read Powernomics every Wednesday night, so you guys are welcome to the book club. Just go to boycewatkins.com. You can find it there. But at the end of the day, if you can't find a way to cooperate, particularly with the other gender, you will almost always lose. You're going to, sure, you can go to the manosphere and you can bitch and complain about women all day, but you're still going to be sitting there trying to figure it all out by yourself, and you ain't going to win. You're not going to succeed. Eventually, you'll lay down with some raggedy woman who's going to take you for all your money, and then you have more stuff to complain about when you go, to Kevin Samuels' channel or something and bitch about how terrible black women are or whatever, right? You can do all that. That's up to you. That's fine. But I can say at the end of the day, complaining is not a strategy. Complaining does not get you what you want. Figuring things out and cooperating and really respecting the power that the other gender has, I think that's a pathway that intelligent black people, I encourage you to consider that. And I really want to encourage you. The reason I'm even talking about this and making this podcast, because I already know the manosphere, they threw bricks in my head when I got married, and I don't care. I'm used to it. But seriously, I'm doing this because I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to understand that some of this energy is really, really bad. And I think that you have to really consider what you lost when you lost your fathers. When Joe Biden sent all those black men to prison in the 1990s, when they were giving your uncles and your cousins and your brothers and your sons 40, 50, 60-year sentences for possessing a little bit of cocaine. But he wasn't locking his old raggedy ass son up. His son been a crackhead for 20, 30 years. He ain't never locked him up, but he'll lock your son up and send him away forever. Well, what they did was they took the fathers out of the community. They took the gang leaders away, which meant that the gang leaders didn't grow into the mature, intelligent OGs who could say to young guys, hey, don't do what I did. The young kids don't know. They don't have a template. They don't have a guide. They don't have a tent post. They don't have anything to compare themselves to say, okay, this is where I want to be 10 years from now. They're not even looking 10 years from now. They're thinking they may not even live past the age of 25. And then either they die before 25, which is what they expect anyway, or they live past 25 and then they don't know what the hell to do. And so you got a bunch of these damn fucking 45-year-old teenagers, as you see, 45-year-old men, pants still sagging, still running around with a joint in your mouth, still walking around, still ain't progressed in 10, 15 years, still got all your money messed up, still making bad choices, still end up in bad situations until one day you realize that you're not 25 anymore, you're actually 50, and you die of a heart attack laying on your couch by yourself in some one-bedroom apartment that you're living in because you never knew how to actually evolve as a human being. Nobody was there to kind of nudge you along. And so ultimately, I think that you lost a lot when you had your boys and your girls growing up without fathers. I'm telling you, you lost a lot. How many of y'all had a father or a strong male role model? And how many of y'all feel that male role model shaped you in really, really significant ways? Say the man's name. Give him credit. Give him public credit. Say his name. If I see his name on the screen, I'm going to repeat his name out loud on this podcast. So how many of y'all had a father? Name him or a male role model. If you didn't have one, I'm not making fun of you. I promise you, I'm not. But I want to really talk about this because we got to understand what you're missing and what needs to be fixed. Okay, so I see Clarence, Lionel, Reginald Bailey, Ron Walters. Who else? I'm gonna name a couple more. Say his name, Earl, and Frank Williams. Okay, all right, Eddie Simon. These are your unspoken heroes in the community, in my view. This is your secret weapon in a lot of ways because think about this, right? If I grow up as a boy, I remember I had a conversation with David Banner one time about this, and I said, and we were laughing because David had a strong father too, and we were laughing because we both joked and said, he said something like, he said, man, when I didn't know what to do as a grown man, I would just do what my father would have done. I just think about what my father did. And I said, really? You too? I did the same thing. Because sometimes you don't know. You're just trying to figure it out, right? So you're like, okay, what would a man that I respect do in this situation? Oh, he would open the car door, or he would take everybody out to dinner, or he would say something to the guy or whatever, right? So you're looking for that reference. And unfortunately, when you don't have that, you just don't know what to do, right? So a lot of boys that don't have that reference, these boys, and it's not their mother's fault per se. The mothers do the best they can, but in some situations you see these boys grow up I feel bad for them because they know how to have sex. Everybody knows how to have sex. It's easy, right? But then the baby comes and there's no sort of template in terms of knowing what a father is supposed to do. So if you're in that category, I encourage you to actively educate yourself on these issues. You can even listen to me if you want to. Some of y'all do. Some of y'all come here and you say, I see you like a surrogate father. Well, I'm good with that. I want to be that guy because I think I'm a pretty good dad. So I'm okay with sharing with you everything I know so that when you make those fucking kids, you are going to do right by those children. You're going to do your absolute best. So there are basic principles that a father or a man follows to make sure that even if things aren't quite where he wants them to be, he at the very least is doing his best. You understand? See, it's one thing like if you don't have a job, but the way you respond to not having a job is reflective of who you are as a person. So you got some guys who don't have a job and they sit at home and they sit on the couch smoking weed, playing Xbox, and they draws all day, right? But then you have some guys who can't get a job and they're out hustling. They're out trying. They're filling out applications. They're learning how to start a business. They're doing odd jobs because they feel internally, hey, I got to contribute. I got to do something, right? And women respect that. A lot of women, I'm not saying that there aren't women who will put pressure on you over money or whatever, or women who have really high standards, but so a lot of women are just like, I respect you because you're trying. I respect a man who's doing his best. I can't respect a man who gave up on life or who feels like a victim or who's always sitting around whining about what a white man is doing to him. I would have a job, but the white man ain't hiring. The white man won't do this. The white man won't do that. That's not good for you as a masculine being because that makes you look like a bitch. It really, really does. It really is a reminder to the world. The more you can, brothers, I'm telling you, the men, be careful about how much you complain about the white man because the more you sit around and whining and complaining about how much power he has over you, the more you're reminding the world that you have no power at all. In fact, I was listening to a history of Russia last week from this professor named Richard Spence, and he talked about the history of Russia and Ukraine and how Ukraine got slapped around like a little hoe for many years because Ukraine was always going to a bigger country to get its backing, to get its support. Maybe it was Poland, maybe it was France or whatever. And every time they would go to another country to get support, Russia, whoever, that country would come in and take everything over. And he basically said that when you are weak, and you're going and begging a higher power to protect you, you're letting that power know and everybody else know that you don't have the power to hold it down yourself. So when you're sitting around complaining that your circumstances are outside of your control, that you have no ability to shape your own life, that everything that happened to you is somebody else's fault, you're just telling the world that you're weak. And I don't believe that intelligent women are going to be attracted to men who internalize that level of weakness. And I'm not talking about strength in the sense that you have to win every battle. You're going to lose a lot of battles. There's no question about that. I'm talking about just the strength to say, I might lose the battle, but I'm going to die trying. I'm going to just give it all I got. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? So a lot of boys never got that. Right? Maybe their mothers, some of them, their mothers felt guilty because they didn't have a daddy. So they coddle the shit out of these little kids because the nature of a woman in most cases, in many cases, in my view, is that of a nurturer. You nurture him. You love him, right? That's what my mother did for me. My mother nurtured the hell out of me. If it wasn't for my father booting me out of the house, who knows? I could still be living in my mama's house. I don't know, right? But my father was the one who stepped along and said, no, get out. You got to go, right? Go figure it out. Right. And so ultimately, a lot of these boys, you're throwing them out there like rotten fish into the lake. So you're throwing these rotten fish into the lake. And these nightmarish men that women are dating that are not taking care of their kids and not taking care of their responsibility, not coming through for anybody, not even coming through for themselves. These were created by whatever was happening at home. Whatever they got at home, that's what, or didn't get, that's what shaped them into who they are. Right? So ultimately, it just is a piece of little, Uncle Boyce advice. I hope it's okay if I give some Uncle Boyce advice. Let me know if it's okay. I would really encourage you when you interview somebody to date you, like interviewing for a job, I would really ask questions about how they were raised, what the template was. If they were raised with a template of manhood that embraced intelligence and hard work and responsibility, then that's probably the kind of man you're going to get. I have a wife. My brother has a wife. If we started acting raggedy like some of these motherfuckers do, my father would be on the phone saying, what in the fuck are you doing? What is wrong with you? My father would be on the phone like, no, this is not how I raised you. This is not what we do in our house. That's what I would get. Now, think about this now. Imagine if I had a mother who excused everything I did. Right? Every stupid thing, every mistake I made was somebody else's fault. Or, oh, it's that girl he married. She's just mean to him, and that's why he acting like this, right? That's where you get those men to sit around and complain about women all day, right? Their mama's probably sitting there with them and say, oh, but the reason that he can't keep a job, and the reason he always broke, and the reason he always getting in trouble, and he got hooked on drugs because the girl was mean and she didn't understand him. I had a relative like that. I had a relative who was literally just like the absolute worst husband that a human being could be. And I remember listening to his mother talk about him, and his mother blamed every single thing he did on his wife. And I was sitting there thinking, all his wife is doing is sitting at home getting cheated on. All she's doing is waiting for his drunk ass to come home every day. All she's doing is getting black eyes because he got drunk and punched her in the face. So what did she do to cause all this? I don't understand that. So ultimately, a lot of times that template, that blueprint is extremely important for parenthood. Now, What the girls are losing, in my view, the gain that the girls get, I think, by having their mothers is that they're getting consistent mentorship, a consistent role model who's always watching every single move and making sure they do, pull your skirt down, do your homework, wash the dishes, fix your hair, right? They're getting a constant guy. So a lot of women are kind of on point because their mother was on point and their mother demanded that of them. And I think that's amazing. That's one of the reasons why you see Black women excelling when it comes to education, just getting degrees and on top of degrees, on top of degrees. Black women are the most educated group of people on earth. What's interesting too, though, is that Black women are also the most religious group of people on earth. Did y'all know that? Or group of people in America. Did y'all know that? I don't know if y'all knew that. And my theory, again, humbly speaking, here's Uncle Boyce. I hope that's okay if I share this. My theory is that a lot of the religion comes from family tradition, but also from this idea that somehow there's this pastor sitting in the middle of the church who's kind of unfortunately become the pimp of the pulpit. And he's sort of guiding all these women and unfortunately convinced many of them that the only type of man they should pick is a man who is equally yoked, right? A man who will go to church like them. Well, a lot of masculine men are not going to go sit in that church with you and give all their money away to some dude that they know is using that money to go pay for his Cadillac or buy or put into the building fund or buy himself a private jet. A lot of men aren't going to do that, right? So ultimately, the other interesting thing that you have to observe is that a lot of mothers told their daughters implicitly and explicitly because of their own pain that you don't need a man, that you got to do this all by yourself. And that strength that you're giving them, which is built on a type of pain, right? Pain creates strength. We go through pain and we fight back and then we become stronger as a result of that. But that strength that comes from pain becomes overwhelming. That's why Black women have the highest rate of depression of any group of people in America, but they just have, it's like walking pneumonia. They can function. It's functional depression, but they're still feeling it because the shit's hard, right? It's hard doing everything by yourself, right? And so that strength that comes from pain becomes incredibly overwhelming. And it also creates a space where, unfortunately, sometimes some of the women, unfortunately, become repellent of quality men. You repel these men because you haven't taken the time. No one ever told you to take the time to acknowledge the fact that a man likes to be needed. He likes to be wanted. He likes to hear, I need you. I want you around. Me and the kids, we love you, right? We'll make sacrifices to be with you, right? So when people are telling you don't compromise, don't settle for nothing, they're telling you basically to stay single for the rest of your life. Because I can tell you as a married man, I am settling every goddamn day of the week. Every day. If you give me 10 things, 10 situations that happen in a given week, let's say, about 8 of those things, I'm not getting exactly what I want. I have to settle. Because you know why? Well, because being part of a group means you have to learn how to compromise. And that's not easy. That's a skill that requires you to sit back, be patient, be quiet. When you can't, you got something to say, but you can't say it. And you got to, figure out how to get a little bit of what you want and give up a little bit and be able to get, it's hard. It's a game you have to want to play. It's a game you have to be committed to. If you're not committed to it, like if you're not committed to this whole idea of family, that's like, think about that, trying to go and start a family when you're not committed to all the trade-offs and compromises and sacrifices necessary to maintain the family. That's like trying to start a business when you don't want to do no motherfucking work. You want to start a business and build a business that's making $100 million a year, and you don't even want to go to work. How the hell are you going to build a business when you don't want to go to work? You don't want to go to business school. You don't want to take no classes on nothing. You don't want to work with a team at all. You're not going to build anything. You're not going to build anything. You're going to be a sole proprietorship. That's it. It'd be just you by yourself forever. So ultimately, that ability to be collaborative enough to function and operate in a space where other human beings are involved requires you to, one, you got to value the presence of those other human beings. So if I'm constantly telling myself I don't need no man, or if I'm a man who says I don't need, F these hoes and we don't love these hoes and all this other crap, then nothing's ever going to work because I don't even value you. I don't even value your presence. So how are we going to have a relationship that requires me to actually make sacrifices to keep you around? And then second of all, the lack of skill, not growing up in the house. So let me tell you, I'm going to tell you the little superpower my parents gave me. I sat there and I watched my parents stay married for 47 years. I watched them and I saw my very strong father, Vietnam veteran, who's actually killed people. Like, this ain't no punk. This man is he was a very, very, you talk about that toxic masculinity. He has some of that. And I saw this man become as gentle as a pussycat when it came to serving the wishes and needs of my mother. My mother has a power over him that no other woman has ever had. And he met a few women back in the day. I also saw my mother dealing with my father in a way that would probably have pissed off most white feminists. Most white feminists would have told my mother to kick him out of the house and do it all by yourself because you don't need him because he's raggedy, and don't think about the kids. Don't think about how it affects anybody else. Just put him out of the house. That's what would have happened. But because I saw my mother and father making these sacrifices for each other, I reference that as a husband. When I get frustrated, I don't pack up and walk out the door. I say, okay, let me go walk toward my wife and we're going to figure this out. So ultimately, when you're talking about this gender war, I would argue that this gender war was created by white supremacy. It goes all the way back to slavery. Part of slavery was driven by making black men and black women hate each other, disrespect each other, not care about each other. This is just a continuation of that. It was exacerbated by mass incarceration. A lot of your men got taken down. They sent them away to prison, gave them 100-year sentences. That's why you'll never see me ever voting for Joe Biden or any other Democrat or anybody until they fix that, until they go back and let out 100,000 people from prison. Then I'll fix it. I don't give a shit about one police shooting. Don't get me wrong. Those are big deals, and we should talk about those to a point. But that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the 100,000 people you still got locked up. They got 80-year sentences that you haven't released from jail. You got to fix that because that's where your black families went. So this is a continuation of that, and then it's further exacerbated by the music when they started pushing out Snoop Dogg to say we don't love them hoes, and they started pushing out other imagery of black men that just made us into something that we're not. Then that's another factor that harmed you and harmed your ability to form families. There's so many men that I think are really hurt by experiences they've had. You know, like, for example, we don't acknowledge parental alienation. We don't acknowledge how many men are trying like hell to see their kids and cannot see their children because they're dealing with a black woman who, unfortunately, for whatever reason, ain't listening to nothing he says and is not respecting his role as a father on any level. Not even taking accountability for the fact that she chose him to partner with to have his baby, but won't acknowledge that that's his baby too. Can't acknowledge that. Right? So ultimately, a lot of these things, this type of healing is going to require you to have a deliberate effort to do that. You're going to have to be intentional about healing yourself. You are, and you have to avoid. You have to socially distance from the virus. You must socially distance from the virus, and the virus is this energy, this very toxic, crazy energy that's out here on the internet. That has so many black men and black women hating each other, going at each other's throats, dogging each other out. Again, people like that, all they know how to do is get together and fight and fuck. That's it. Because men are always going to want women. Women are always going to want men. And the way these relationships go is pretty simple. You meet somebody, you think that that's the one person who's not toxic. And even though you're really the toxic one, so you're picking toxic people. So you get with him or her for a little while and y'all have a great relationship because when you start having sex, all the dopamine and the endorphins start going to your brain and you start getting high and you're like, girl, I met the one. Or, man, yeah, I think she might be different. And then about 6 months in, when reality kicks in and you start actually having to have a relationship, you start seeing things slowly start to dwindle as little things start getting on your nerves. The next thing you know, you're going through that 9-month to 12-month cycle where you got a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend every single year. And then you get old enough, you hit about 40, 45 years old, and then you start realizing that you're growing old and you don't have anybody around that gives a shit about you enough to come even pick you up at the hospital if you get sick. And that's a reality I think a lot of men don't understand and they don't know. When you see these rappers dying young, some of them die young because they get killed. Some of them die maybe in their 40s or early 50s because they've been living this rough, crazy, wild life, for 20, 30 years. And they didn't understand that as a man, you're going to get older and you're going to want to have that quality woman by your side. They see no value in that. It's like, why would I do that? Because that's taking away my freedom and blah, 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 blah. Well, next thing you know, you're sitting at home all by yourself. You die of a heart attack. You die in the shower and nobody's there to pick you up because you never invested in human beings at any point in your life. You didn't even invest in your own kids. That's the real investment that happens in this life. I could talk to y'all all day about financial investment. Y'all know that's what I do. But the biggest investment you'll ever make is in your life and in the people that are around you. And it's something you must be conscious about, because if you don't invest in your community, in terms of investing in the people in your community, investing in the men, investing in the women, investing in the children, then you cannot tell me that you are pro-black. You are not pro-black. You are anti-black. You might as well join the fucking Klan because you want black people to perish. If you hate black women and you have all these negative things to say about black women all the time, then you don't want to survive. You don't want black people to live, because you need a black woman to go to the next generation. There's no other way around it. So anyway, that's all I got to say on the issue. Thank you to Tichina Arnold for making that great comment. I recommend following her on Twitter. She's great. Her comments are very, very respectful and kind and decent and quality. And I just, I don't know the lady, but I like what she has to say. And also just a reminder, if you live near Detroit, the One Africa Conference is happening in Detroit on April 30th. My wife is going to speak there along with Professor James Small and a lot of other really great people. I can't remember who else was there. Kaba Khamenei and Malena Karanga and a lot of others are coming. Scheherazade Ali is going to be there. Rizza Islam is going to be there. And so if you go to BoyceWatkins.com, there'll be a pass where you can get a ticket there. Also down in Georgia, King Randall's having a great event. I don't have the details of it, but I know I'm speaking there, so I probably need to get the details. I'll come back and give you guys the details of that. That's going to be down in Albany, Georgia. King Randall, in case you don't know, he's about 21 years old. He's doing excellent work. And I love black people that are actually building and getting things done. Those are your heroes, man. Those are the people that are really making a difference in this world. Not the rappers and basketball players, not the actors you see on TV. I'm talking about people like King Randall that are grabbing kids and literally building schools and educating black kids. That's what you got to celebrate. That's what you got to support. So I hope that you pay as much attention to that as you pay to, Will and Jada slapping people at the Oscars and all that other shit. All right. So anyway, guys, that's it, guys. I hope that this conversation was helpful to you. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm going to get on out of here, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you soon. Take care now. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.